Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Engine Builder Show. I hope everyone had a great weekend and was able to recharge. For our 11th episode, Gabe will be discussing how to qualify a prospect during your first sale conversation. But before we dive into that, today's episode is brought to you by Business Marketing Engine. If you want to up and scale your business, please visit businessmarketingengine.com. Now let's get the show started. Good morning, Gabe.
Good morning, Jethro. Good morning, everyone. Glad you were able to tune in today, and hope that your week is already off to an amazing start. Or whenever you do get to catch this, I hope you're having an amazing day. And what I wanted to talk about today was how to qualify prospects quickly during your first sales conversation, because I know for me over the years, having I've been selling for like 25 plus years at this point, selling things to people. And I know for me, one of the things that I don't enjoy, or I didn't enjoy in the past, was spending a bunch of time talking to a prospect and then putting together a proposal, having multiple meetings, and then finding out at the end that they weren't a good fit for me, they couldn't afford me, and that they were not kind of in the season where I could serve and help them. And so one of the things I'm going to share just a handful of things that I do on the majority of all first kind of discovery calls where I'm having a first call with the prospect. And these will allow you to move quickly through that conversation and determine, very efficiently, is this person a good fit for me, and to work with our company, or are they not at the stage yet where I can work with them? Again, it's really, honestly, in my experience and opinion, it's kindest and most professional to find out up front if that person is ready to work with you. Because if not, then you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time, and that is wasting time is one of the only sins I think that exists in the world, um, in my opinion. But anyway, um, so as I start the conversation, always obviously start out, and be warm and friendly, get to know them. I always, there's typical things you can start in the beginning, and say, like, tell me a little bit about your business, or, tell me about a little bit how you are. It's always good, obviously, to open up and warm up the conversation and get to know them. And I typically just spend couple minutes there, not a ton of time, because there will be more relationship building farther down the road in the process. And again, like I said, ideally you both got on that video call or that phone call, or you're meeting in person to determine, is this going to be something where you can help them solve problems that they have and reach their goals, and are they a good fit to work with you? So don't early on, in my experience, I don't recommend spending a ton of time just getting to know them, because again, that will happen as you progress. So it's okay to be efficient and direct, because otherwise you could spend a ton of time and waste their time, and again, that's not a good fit. So, or not a good path typically. So once you've said your hellos, gotten to know them, asked them a little bit about themselves, these are the questions that I like to get into early into the conversation, so I can determine, again, where they're at in their business, and if I can help them. And this approach is especially effective for service-based companies, where you're selling a service to them. It does apply, honestly, in some senses, across the board. I've used this in multiple industries, multiple sales conversations, and different verticals of products or services, or other things. But again, this is it definitely applies well in the service-based space. So the first thing that I will typically ask is, say, so how many customers bought from you? When I'm talking to my prospect, I would say, how many customers have purchased from you in the last 12 months? Um, and there's a couple, there's multiple kind of logical pieces to how I'll put this together. But the first thing that I start to pay attention to after I ask this question, and the other two questions I'll share, is, do they know their numbers? Do they know how many people they've served? Because if they're clear and confident in their answer, like, yep, so far this year, we've served this many people, or we have this many active clients. If they can give you an answer like that, they know their numbers. And a business owner, or a prospect that knows their numbers, is a lot easier to work with than somebody that doesn't know their numbers. And also, I don't believe that it's very easy, or generally speaking, I don't find a lot of people that have scaled a massive business who don't know their numbers. So it speaks to the maturity of who you're speaking to from a business perspective, their business maturity. So how many customers have you sold to in the past 12 months? Second question that I ask is what was the average sale across those? Um, and again, that tells me if they know their numbers, and also it tells me essentially how much revenue they're doing. So if somebody says, well, I have 10 customers in the last 12 months and we've sold them $100,000, projects each, and cool, this prospect that I'm speaking to has $1 million a year business. You can do that math quickly. You can jot it down. You can throw in a calculator and check. And that tells you, like, what size is this business? Are they somebody that's a good fit for me? Because typically, an easy way to kind of set some parameters around who you're going to be able to work with is somebody that's at a certain stage of business, because then they'll have the problems that you solve. So, how many customers bought from you in the past 12 months is question number one. Question number two is, what was the average sale? So again, you can see kind of what they're selling, and again, you can see how confident and readily they know their numbers. And then three, what is your profit margin on those types of projects? And that also will tell you, like, if they say, oh, like, yeah, we have a 40% profit margin, or it's 3% or it's 8%. Like, if they know their numbers, that's good. If they don't know their numbers, that means that they may not even know what questions to ask, or they may not know if they can work with you, to be honest. But you can help them flesh that out depending on where they're at. And a really profitable company, is somebody that's easy to work with. Somebody that's not making any money is going to have a hard time paying you. So just kind of simple kind of things to look at there. So those three questions combined will give you a really quick snapshot of where their business is at. How many customers bought from you in the past 12 months? What was the average sale? And what is your profit margin? As you start to review those things in that conversation, you should have a good sense of where they're at. Now, if the service you offer is helping people increase their average sale, then you'll be able to point that out. If the service you offer is something that will help people increase their profit margin, again, you'll be able to go, oh, okay, here's great. You don't have high profit margins, but I can help you do that. And how many customers bought from you? If only 2 or 3 customers in the last year have bought from them, then they're still in a very early startup stage. Or if people say, none, I'm just getting this business off the ground, again, then you're going to be able to make a decision from that information and say, cool, I love working with startups, or no, my products and services are best for people that are established in business. So those are the 3 primary questions. There's 2 other things that I watch for. One is, if the person continually talks about the past and what they did in the past and problems or accomplishments or anything in their conversation, when you bring things up or when you ask them about themselves, if their conversation continues to drift back to, well, 10 years ago I did this, or a couple of years ago we were in this place, and good or bad stories, then they are typically people, and it's just my experience, in my experience, they're typically people that are stuck in the past and are not going to be fast movers into the future. You're going to have to coach and educate and get rid of some of that baggage, and there's going to be a lot more going on in that situation than just providing your service. If there's somebody that is focused on the future, like, next year we want to accomplish this much, we need this many leads to do so, we need these problems solved, or here's the plans going forward. When they're future focused, they're already in momentum typically, and they already know what they want to accomplish. And so they're going to be a lot easier to work with and guide, because they've got a vision, they've got goals, and they know where they're going. And they're not people that typically latch onto or attach to the past. And again, those are just things that I've kind of experienced and witnessed. But again, it's worth noting, like, how are they sharing information and their stories and who they are and what their company about? Are they talking future paced of, here's where we're going, here's the goals we have? Or are they talking about accomplishments in the past or problems in the past? And I wish I would have known to identify that kind of language pattern even a few years ago. It's not something I really paid attention to until the last couple of years, or even the last year more heavily, because when you identify that type of pattern, you're able to very quickly tell what your relationship is going to be like with that prospect. If they're future paced, then typically they're willing to overcome mistakes, or they understand learning curves, or they're going to move forward regardless. If they're historically just talking about stories in the past and things that happen, then they're going to often, again, like I said, you're going to have to educate them through things, or challenge some beliefs, or get them out of the past and get them, facing and focusing forward. So those are things that are worth exploring in my experience. So all of that to say, those are things that have been really effective for me personally, in qualifying prospects very efficiently in the first discovery calls or the first meetings or whenever I connect with them. Even you know Thanks, Brent. I appreciate that. Brent said that's awesome advice about people who talk about the past. I totally agree and need to watch that more. I wish I would have realized that long ago. So yeah, I'm glad glad that you see that as well, Brent. So yeah, the um, I would just say, like, if you can very efficiently qualify people up front, you really are serving them. I'd rather tell somebody very quickly that they're not a fit for me on the first call in the first meeting than again going through these multiple meetings. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of company resources, and it's something that I would just encourage all of you to realize. So quick recap, and then we'll close up. Question number one: how many customers bought from you in the past 12 months? Question number two: what was the average sale? You can tell their gross revenue from that, even if they're not perfectly nailed down on the numbers there. You'll get a sense. And then number three is, what is your profit margin on that, or what's your typical profit margin? And then again, if they're talking about the past, they're typically anchored and stuck there. If they're talking about the future, they're in momentum, and you'll be able to move them forward. So hope that's useful. Hope everyone has an amazing rest of your day, and I'll turn it back to you, Jethro.
Thank you, Gabe. And that's it for now on the Engine Builder Show. Thank you for tuning in and being with us on our daily show. We hope you learned something today. Again, we really appreciate it if you hit that like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell as well so you'll be notified when we go live. For unique business marketing solutions, head over to businessmarketingengine.com. Again, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again tomorrow.